All right, welcome back, everybody, to the 2018 Sonic Generations Relay Race. Up next, we have Sonic Advance 3. Representing Team Sonic, we have FruitSalad0, and representing Team A and Knuckles, we have Omla3. And let me tell you, we are sitting at 4-5, favoring Team A and Knuckles. This is a great opportunity for Fruit Salad to bring his team back to a tie game here in the relay race. Here, doing commentary with me is Alec K47, and we are going to jump right into it and get this countdown. Let's get some game feed going. All right, we got 3, 2, 1, and go.
Okay, so Sonic Advance 3 has a few different categories they can do. This is the basic any percent where you start with access to only Sonic and Tails. There's a partner system, so depending on which character you have in the lead, the other character will give you different actions, including tag actions. That is going to be an important part of this run. They are starting off with Tails in the lead. Tails, you might not think it, but he doesn't have that great of vertical mobility because he flies up very slowly. But he's great for horizontal stages, especially with something like Sonic's tag action. Now, there is a specific frame where you can get ideal movement out of the tag action with this team. You can see them pausing. That is the easiest way to ensure you get that frame, because you just charge the tag action, you have the button held, you pause, you release the button, and then you unpause, and you get that every time. So that gives you consistency for a relatively low investment in time. You can also see sometimes they'll have Sonic throw Tails up. That is a better way to get a little bit of vertical momentum than just flying with Tails, which you'll see them do at times in all likelihood. And when they're flying up, it is very slow. You will definitely see that. Another thing that you can see is they were both playing on the Japanese version. Essentially, the more rings you have, the more aerial control you have. That effect is lessened in the US version. There are some unique off-screen boss kills that the US version allows, but overall, things are generally weighted slightly in favor of the Japanese version or the European version, which, for whatever reason, plays just like the Japanese version, but also allows you to have the excellent English Eggman voice. But that's a trade-off, I guess.
Yes, Fruit is on the US version, but his language is set to Japan.
Okay, yeah, and that's just shorter text in that case. It's actually not a huge difference between the two versions. If you're used to one over the other, you should just play that one, honestly. But there are some minor differences between the two versions. Nothing that's going to decide this race.
So, Alec, are there any major skips in this category, or is the game what you see is what you get?
There are a couple skips in this game. The main skips are late in the run and rather difficult, but we'll get to that when you come to it. A lot of the skipping is going to be more about just intelligently using each character in each level with the right partner and using tag actions. But because this is not the all-time trials category, you also have to factor in the time it takes to get each pairing. So they're going to be trying to manage when they switch. It's all routed out. Kirby Masta did that a while back. And essentially what it amounts to is Sonic and Tails, as I recall, gets used the most, with Tails usually being in the lead. Knuckles gets a small amount of play later on, as does Amy, and I can't remember if Cream ever gets used.
I mean, so far it looks like a lot of this is strictly execution based.
Oh
really
yeah,
tight jumps, really good, execution maneuvering, things like that. So this is a really interesting one to watch if you're into that.
yeah. One of the uh, best ways I've heard it described is I think it was Mike89 who said in an SDA submission for it that it rewards really fluent platforming and just ability use. And so it's not just spin dash, jump over something, stop, spin dash again. There's a lot more to it, and there's a lot more focus on keeping your momentum going and such, as opposed to kind of just spamming any one thing.
Right, and a huge shout out to Kirby Master for doing a lot of the work in this game, getting the routes down and stuff like that. He's put a lot of time into these.
Yeah, and Worcester also deserves a shout out for the ILs he did. Some of them are pretty ridiculous. There's a later boss that we'll get into. But he also did a lot of work on this game, mostly again in the IL sense.
Turbo Gilman, this is Sonic Advance 3. Uh-oh, it appears we lost Fruit's feed here momentarily. We'll be right back.
Yeah, it's just having some internet hiccups, it looks like.
Yeah, midday on a Sunday, you're gonna have that.
And they both reset here after a little bit. So you can see Tails and Sonic, they beat the boss. There are going to be a few resets once the game updates their progress. This is to switch characters sometimes, also to sometimes skip the various cutscenes, but you have to wait until a certain point to do it.
You know what it looks like? It looks like during those level transitions, the all the colors and stuff just destroys the bitrate. So as long as the game plays there, we're totally good.
Yeah, that'll happen because, well, rainbow backgrounds. If anyone's ever tried to watch the final boss of an Earthbound stream, similar deal here. You will see some platform cycles in a few of these levels. They aren't as important in Sunset Hill as they are in later levels. Some of them matter more than others. But the bottom line is, when they're important, they're important. Kind of either the level revolves around them or it really doesn't. You can see them skipping a lot of these rail sections where slide on the rails. That's just mostly for speed. The rails in this game are, I'd have to say, easily the most well-programmed of the three Advance games, which unfortunately isn't saying much. In Advance and Advance 2, they're problematic.
I will say, just speaking from a pure outsider on these speedruns, the graphics and the mechanics in this game look fantastic. The game looks like sound. You know, it's not too clunky or anything. It looks very responsive.
Yeah. One of the things about the Advance games in general, however well or not well you might say some of the mechanics are implemented, I think the tag system is really well implemented. I think some of the stuff in Advance 2 maybe less so, but that's more of a game design thing than the mechanics. The mechanics, other than rails and crush deaths, are very solid in the Advance games just in general. Another thing to bear in mind is if they want to unlock a character, when they fight this general boss that Omla is fighting right now, they are going to have Sonic in the lead. So this level would have unlocked Knuckles. So I can see that he's just opting not to even use Knuckles at all. This boss can be tricky. The IL uses cream and just uses cheese to hit the boss. So using Tails' unique action, which is the tail whip, that is how they're going to try to get the most hits. And then it's just a matter of reading where the boss is going and trying to get the hits as best you can. Because a lot of times it's going to be off screen and you can't entirely tell where it's going to be. Sonic also doing some work for Omla there. Another thing to notice is you can see Sonic, he's getting a lot of kind of that flicker effect. That is boost, and only teams with Sonic in them can use boost. That is just basically getting and maintaining a certain amount of speed. How long you have to wait to get it is dependent on your ring count and how fast you're going. So faster speeds mean that you get it faster. There are also these spring pads and such that will often, if not always, give you boost mode right away. He's also using Sonic here. They're both using Sonic here. Sonic Tails is actually a bit better of a team vertically than Tails Sonic, like I said, just because the tag action sends Sonic up so much faster than anything Tails would be able to do to get up higher faster. You'll see them doing some tricky stuff around various objects in the level, trying to avoid certain things, get through tight spaces. That's one of the harder things about ocean-based levels in general. But you watch and you just see how high Tails will fling Sonic. Whereas if you were watching earlier when Sonic would send Tails up, he didn't get nearly as much height. And these levels being very vertical, that means it's better to have Sonic in the lead.
Very interesting mechanics.
Yeah, we'll see if they unlock any of the other characters and use them. It's very possible to just go through this entire run with only Sonic and Tails. You don't even need the other characters, but there is definitely use from some of the other characters. Maybe it's just the fact that Kirby Master runs as every character, at least in some fashion, that he's just used to using them, and that's a big factor in any speedrun, really. I don't think I've mentioned this, but the basic structure of the game is beat 3 levels, then you can do the boss. And the general mini-boss is decided based on which stage it is, basically. So you can plan your route around where those fights are going to be. If you want to switch characters or such.
And there's like a bit of an overworld here in between, correct?
Yeah, there is kind of an overworld with area in between each stage. So Ocean Base has a hub. So did Sunset Hill. So did Route 99. All of them do. And then there's also an area where you can go to switch your characters without resetting, but it's generally faster to get there via resetting. And you can also switch which hub you're in from there.
Okay.
And each boss fight is also its own separate level.
Well, that's interesting. So it's almost like a Sonic CD in a way.
Yeah, kinda. It's also unlike the first 2 advanced games in that sense. Oh boy. Toy Kingdom. Cycles the stages, also BS crush deaths the stages. If you make it through each level cleanly, that's a victory, honestly. So if you see them get crushed, there's a good chance it wasn't really their fault. The mechanics for getting crushed in this game really are that bad. You can get some bad crush deaths in other Sonics. Yeah, just try playing this game. Actually do play it though, because other than like that, it's actually a very good game. But in certain places, especially with these moving blocks and the cycles, it's best to be a little bit more careful in areas where they're near a wall or a ceiling that they could crush you in between it and that. Okay, so here's another general fight. This time, because Fruit has Sonic in the lead, he will be getting another character. This one is Amy. He will, I'm sure, be skipping that cutscene with a reset, though. Yep, there it is, the reset. And I believe he's probably going to switch teams as well to Tails Sonic. Or Amy Sonic, okay. Either way, I can definitely see both. Amy's got a hammer, and her hammer tag action is useful, but you can also use the hammer to hit springs, and it gives you the maximum velocity off of all of those springs every single time if you hit it with the hammer. So that's definitely a very useful mechanic that you will see them using when they need it. And waiting for a spring there, it took him 3 times to get a spring from that little Jackbox. That is random. I don't know the exact mechanics behind it, but it took him 3 tries, and that is just annoying. It's one of the things you have to deal with in Toy Kingdom. Toy Kingdom is easily the worst part of this speedrun. Unless you like watching runners just get frustrated, I guess. Nice save there, too, to get in to that little hallway, even though he was low. And now, see Omla also getting Amy, defeating General with Sonic in the lead, getting another character. So you'll see him doing the reset and then coming into this level as well. I'm guessing they're going to be using the same strat, so he'll probably come in with Amy Sonic as well. Amy is also very useful against bosses because of her hammer. I didn't mention that before, but I guess because I considered it so self-evident, it's the case in every Sonic Advance game. And this boss is pure RNG. It has different attacks it can do. You want the Jackbox attack, as I recall, that being the shortest attack animation. Missile and Ball and Chain are longer, and the fast attacks become less and less common as you go on throughout the fight, with the fastest eventually becoming impossible. So it's just a matter of getting up there, getting that hit on the first frame, and hoping the boss gives you good patterns. That's really all there is to it. You can also do off-screen kill, kind of use some recoil to get the boss to explode off-screen. That saves a little bit of lag. And that's basically all the tech there is to this level. One more hit. And the torture of that boss is over, at least for Fruit. That did not look like good luck. I believe the IL record is something like 120 or even in the 1-teens. And as I recall, Kirby Master said that an average time would be around 145, 150. I could be wrong. So 217, not ideal.
You gotta love RNG.
Twinkle Snow is back to being a bit more interesting and, I think, enjoyable. There's a really cool layer glitch skip that you can do in the 100% category, but obviously this isn't the 100% category, so there's really less incentive to do that, more incentive to just play these levels fast. You can see there are a lot of these railings, so fortunately the mechanics are the best in the advanced games, like I mentioned before. Otherwise, there's likely to be some use of Amy's hammer to hit springs to get where they need to go. And there are a few tight jumps here and there. Also skipping that minecart thing because it's slow. Looked like Omla was having pretty decent luck, but then he got to... Now he's getting nothing but missiles, which is unfortunate. Still finishing here with a better time just because of pure luck. Okay, so there actually is the layered glitch shenanigans going on there. Yes! No! I do really like that. So basically, by hitting a spring in a way the game doesn't expect you to, kind of moving around, it gets its triggers messed up, and you end up being kind of able to just go around everything because the game doesn't think you're on the layer that should collide with it. And then, carefully, you can make your way to the end of the stage, trigger the ending, and then immediately die. But you beat the stage, so it's all good. I wasn't entirely sure if they were either of them were going to go for it, so it's cool to see that they did. Now this boss, you can stun lock by getting these platforms to fall on it in the proper timing. It's really tricky. It's much easier if you have a character with flight, so it's not surprising that you're seeing the boss get at least one attack there. That was still a very good boss fight from Fruit. Only getting one attack without a team with flight is definitely good. You know, Omla coming up on the spring in question, and there it is. You can see him flying through the air, doing the layer glitch, doing some pause buffering. Ooh, this looks... Yeah, he hit the spikes. He was a bit low there. You want to be able to run along the water a little bit like Fruit did. See if he can salvage this. Oh, he almost got to that checkpoint too. That checkpoint, I believe, is fairly close to the end of the stage. That's unfortunate. Cybertrack is kind of an interesting set of stages that you see Fruit going through. There are some gravity gimmicks, there are these things that kind of shoot you around, and there are these moving platforms that he's going to try to not stay on as much as possible, because, you know, they move around slow. There's a clip he can do later in one of the other stages that will skip about half the level or something like that, just by using a tag action right up against one of those things that shoots you out into those little kind of pinball-like sections. Alright, let's see if Omla can get it again on this try. Still didn't get water, but this time, yeah, he got hit again and was not able to get to the checkpoint. That skip is not easy, so it's definitely impressive that Fruit was able to just nail it. A lot of it you kind of have to go on by feel and just trying to understand where you are on the stage that's flying past you at an alarming rate. But that trip does save a good, I believe it's 30-40 seconds. So it is significant.
I mean, it just looks difficult from, like, just sitting here. You know, like, a lot of it is done off-screen at such a fast pace.
Yeah, it's
Very
easy to
technical
start
stuff.
it. It's easy to start it. It's not easy to do the rest of it. Okay, so he might have been able to do something with that minecart, but he's trying to salvage it in another way instead. Let's see if he's able to. This does look better than the last couple attempts. Okay, you hit that spring, you hit the end of the level. Very nice. There are a few different ways you can handle it as you're going through the stage. One of the fortunate things is that you can use springs, you can interact with some objects, and taking advantage of those is important.
I like his determination there. I'm gonna keep doing it until I get it.
Right now, Fruit is winning. Fruit playing really well in Cybertrack 2, from what I'm seeing. Another general fight. This is the one that if he had Sonic in the lead would have unlocked Creep. Well, Omla entering the Twinkle Snow boss. Just as Fruit is entering the much more, not actually, but functionally random boss of Cybertrack. The thing about Cybertrack is that it shoots these balls every so often based on how many times it has taken damage. Now, you can kind of manipulate it at first, but after a while it just gets too fast and you're not going to be able to effectively count on when it's going to shoot, so you just kind of have to hope. 80's Hammer does come in very useful here, but it's really just a matter of trying to deal with what the game gives you. So, functionally random, not actually random in this case. And when he's shooting it this fast, you know that he's on his last hit. So one more hit. Oh, that almost hit too. That was very close. But when the boss gets to this point, it's just a mad scramble to try to get a hit. Another near miss. There it is. There's the hit.
Nice finish.
Okay, so Chaos Angel are just hard stages in general. There's going to be a team change if he's going for a skip, which, based on what I've seen from him so far, I'm guessing he is going to go for. And that's auto-scroller skips in the third stage. But here you have, again, a lot of tag action, and just really showcasing how good of a team Sonic and Amy are in general. You get the boost mode on Amy from having Sonic around, and the tag action is really powerful. And then Amy's hammer also being really useful. Mary was trying to skip through that that rail, but was having a little difficulty doing it. Ooh, that was almost a death. There's a lot of death pits, especially in these open sections, and getting hit there was really dangerous. Ciao! I'm sure he didn't intend to collect that Chow, but still, he got it. Speaking of death pits, right, just a bullseye in that one. That's unfortunate for Fruit, but it's definitely something that happens easily in these stages. They're using the hammer to get the full height from that spring. Playing it risky there again. Falling down there. I don't remember if it's a death or if it's just bad, but it's not something you want. Now he's coming up in the end. Meanwhile, Omla dealing with that general fight that, like I said before, would unlock Cream if he was if he had Sonic in the lead, but he doesn't care because Cream is just unlocked too late to be really that useful. So now Tails Amy is used for the skips in Act 3 of Chaos Angel. So Tails obviously is for flight. Amy is for her tag action and for the hammer. So you can see, oh, he took a hit there. He actually didn't want to take a hit. This is very precise to get these skips. What he's going to try to do is land in very specific places so that he is able to refresh his flight but not get hit by these spikes. And that is going to include, in one or two places, actually, like you see there, being just kind of on the platform the spikes are on, but not on top of the spikes. And Amy's tag action there obviously being used to gain significant amounts of height that Tails would at least have trouble with getting otherwise. Able to get back to the platform there, which is fortunate. Oh, cutting that one close, but he got that. And I believe this flight is good. I think he's going to make it to the end of the stage now. Yep, just fine. I don't know. I'd say basically Toy Kingdom is more hateable at least. But as far as difficulty, yeah, Chaos Angel 3 is definitely in strong contention for the hardest level, thanks to the auto-scroller skips. And this boss can also be trolly, so sometimes you'll get bounced in a way that you just aren't able to keep your rings. The boss is going to be flipping sides, and he needs to get it to take damage. Amy's hammer is very useful in this situation. And now he doesn't have any rings. He's going to have to be careful. Nicely played. One more hit. I believe. Yes. Nicely done, clutching out that fight with no rings.
Wow, what a performance there.
Yeah, it would have been very, very easy for him to die. Omla also finishing off a boss that can be quite troublesome, so good job to both of them. Alright, so because this isn't the 100% true ending run, this is going to be the final boss right here. There are a couple different teams that deal with it well. Kirby Master likes to bring Knuckles, but they didn't unlock Knuckles here. That's a personal preference thing. The hands are kind of what you need to keep an eye on. And then he's going to be using this tag action to get hits, and from there just trying to land back on the platforms, which sometimes he's going to have to go to the side, sometimes to the middle. It's looking like a good and not trolly fight so far, so hopefully the commentator's curse doesn't come in the last hit or two. Ooh, he's out of rings. That's not the end of the world. He just needs to be extra careful. There it is! Finishing the fight, not dying after the fact. Excellent play by Fruit. Now this kind of little scene just to show that there's more to the game in a sense. But this is the end for his run.
Wow. So should the timer have stopped already?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he got a 42.52, and it looks like that is a nice juicy PB for him.
Excellent.
Unless he has a time that's not up to date on SRC.
Yeah, he definitely had a very, very good run. That would be a good time for either this category or for all stages, doing all-time trials. Sub 45 is an excellent run regardless.
Alright. And unfortunately, due to the estimates I made earlier, we were on a very tight schedule here, trying to finish it up with the runner's availability. So we're going to have to cut away give the point to Team Sonic, which ties the relay with only 2 games to go at 5. And obviously Omla is more than welcome to finish the run. But unfortunately we have to cut away to set up the next game, which is where it all began. Sonic the Hedgehog 1, featuring Dr. Fatbody and Chonkel. So stick around for that.